Whether you're planning to ring in the new year in Iceland or to visit at any other time during the month, here is what you can expect regarding all the things happening and how you can prepare for your visit. On average, January is the coldest month in Iceland, and we're talking about temperature range that doesn't seem as bad. We talk about like -2 degrees Celsius, which is like 29 degrees Fahrenheit, and a little bit above freezing. However, we are often in this month getting so many cold fronts, so many storms coming in. So we can go as low as like -10 degrees Celsius. In fact, we're even having a cold front coming in, I think this week, where you can get down to like -15 Celsius. So cold for sure. And knowing, of course, what to wear is super essential. I'm going to get to that in a moment. Daylight hours. We start out the month of January with 4.5 hours of daylight, but we're slowly increasing hours, which is great. So we'll get to around 6 hours or so of daylight by the end of the month. So know that there is not a lot of daylight to see natural attractions. However, that is amazing for potentially seeing the northern lights. We need these very dark days to make that possible. Because it can be so cold, it's definitely something clothes-wise that you have to pack well for. I actually have a whole video that I'm creating about layers and the different materials to wear during wintertime, because I can totally understand that for everybody, it might not be known exactly what works best. So I have a video coming up on that, but for the essentials that you would need during this month, my free ultimate packing checklist is below in the description. And I've separated it for winter and summer so that you can be able to use it if you decide to come at another time of the year. But in January, you definitely need to be very strategic about how you pack your clothing and what you pack to stay warm and dry. Road conditions can be quite challenging. We're seeing a lot of snow, a lot of ice, and of course, the more north you go, the more challenging the conditions can be more often. But in the south, everywhere, in Reykjavik, we're definitely going to be seeing snow and ice on the roads. So it's great to make sure that you're checking the conditions. There's road.is where you can literally see with a camera, if you click on the road, what the conditions of that road is, just to kind of manage your own expectations. You can also check safetravel.is to see if there's any weather warnings. If they're telling you to stay out of a certain area that you plan to go to, please heed the warning, because a lot of people, even over Christmas, had to be saved off of the roads by the search and rescue teams. These are volunteer organizations, and so they don't get paid to come out on holidays or whatever, or even any day, to help people who potentially didn't listen to the warning or didn't take it as seriously. And when renting a car, it's essential, in my opinion, to have a car that has studded tires. Brings me to the sponsor of this video, Go Car Rental Iceland. I have been partnering with them for years. I use and drive a car from them that has studded tires in the wintertime and, of course, summer tires in the summertime. But everybody who has used them, who's followed me and used my code Iceland10 to save 10%, they have had a wonderful experience because they're great with their customer service, as well as they have a large variety of cars and competitive prices. If you're planning to use a camper van, which can be a little bit more challenging but adventurous in the wintertime, then you can use my code Iceland7 with Go Campers to save 7% and get 2 free duvets with your rental, so you can keep nice and toasty as you're out sleeping, in the wilderness. So even though January on average is the coldest month in Iceland and quite dark, you might be wondering what makes it appealing to even come here. Well, northern lights. This would be a fantastic time to potentially see them. Of course, it's not guaranteed, but there is always a potential for it when we have nighttime, really long, dark nights. And ice caves, naturally forming ice caves. This is the height of the season because it is cold enough for those ice caves to be stable. And so you can see absolutely stunning, breathtaking ice caves. And I actually have a really fun video coming up about that, about 2 iconic ice caves. So keep an eye out for that because they were so cool to go into. And I'm excited for many of you to be able to explore them and see what the difference is between these two. Another huge plus is that there are way less people. Now, of course, if you're going to ring in the new year here in Iceland, there will be more people for that particular event, but it really thins out right after that. And all of a sudden you have natural attractions, not practically to yourself, but with far less people than you would normally see, especially during the summertime. Even though there is limited daylight, you can still do things like going on glacier hikes, snowmobiling. Of course, there's plenty of museums, cafes, and cultural things that you could take part in. There aren't very many big events. There's more like local events that are happening, such as Þorrablót. So Þorri is a month in the old Icelandic calendar, and during January, towards the end, there are these big parties that Icelanders have where they gather to eat traditional Icelandic food and the way that had been preserved back in the day. So we're talking about fermented shark, lamb's head, boiled testicles of like an animal, and like all these different types of foods. They have other regular foods too, but Þorri, in essence, is sort of just remembering. Modern Icelanders are remembering the times of their ancestors and how they survived, and then also partying and having concerts and all these things. Like, it's a really huge party mixed in with this type of food and drink from back in the day. One fascinating fact that most people don't know about Iceland is that Christmas ends on January 6th. So there's actually a big celebration there where there's bonfires and people just gathering and kind of celebrating the fact that Christmas is over. So because I'm from the United States and have been used to Christmas just being over after the 25th, it is fascinating to be here and know that it goes on quite a bit longer. So it's a nice little celebration in the beginning of January if you want to take part in that, to kind of end off that holiday season. January, like any other month in Iceland, is unique and fascinating, and I highly recommend coming if you're thinking about being around less people, potentially seeing the Northern Lights, and definitely going into naturally forming ice caves. But if you want more personalized help planning your trip, you can book a video consultation call with me in which we can talk about what you'd like to do, your preferences, and then actually I help you to plan out what you can do while you're here, whether it's in January or any other month that you plan to visit. If you would just like to do it on your own but need some like recommendations of spots, I have an Iceland map. All the resources I mentioned and discounts to help you save on your trip are below in the description, so definitely check those out. If you found this helpful, give the video a thumbs up and share it with somebody who you feel would find it helpful for them planning their trip if they're coming in January or another month, because this is a whole series of months in Iceland. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.